I saved my son, and he saved me. And this is how it's got to work. The people that you love who have crossed over, it's not too late to reconnect emotionally. But the challenge is believing in yourself, believing in your messages, I guess, signs from the other side, because there are spirits everywhere, everywhere, and they're earthbound. And there are many earthbound spirits who are afraid and try to hide from God. That's what they're doing. As soon as death came and they woke up, they realized what they had done. This is for far too many people who are so ashamed and so riddled with shame. They hide. They're hiding from the light. And I knew in 2008 my son was around. I knew there's no doubt that my son was playing with my electricity, turning alarms off and on, giving me dreams, giving me visions. He was there. And so was another guide who came to me. I think it was around the same year, 2008. That was the year I told Trevor to go to the light. But just before that, if my timeline's right, I don't know. It fits my story. I got a vision of my guide, this bushy-haired guy who had come to me when Trevor was 13. And he said, in 2008, he said, Trevor is too consumed with his cats. And we have a cat story between me and Trevor. I won't get into now. But I could understand that I could understand why, And it was soon after that, when Trevor was turning my lamp in the bedroom on and off, I finally shut everything down and sat on my bed and just had about an hour and a half heart to heart with my son. By then, I had already read many, many books about people who have had experiences with their loved ones around the afterlife. I had read enough to know. And I just had this feeling that he was earthbound. And I told him I was very, very concerned about that. The wonderful thing about death is that you can read people's thoughts, your loved ones that are still here. You can read their feelings and their thoughts. Trevor knew I loved him deeply, and he knows my heart. He has to. And I had to do quite a review of my own life and my own heart, my own sins, or what I thought were sins. And I had to do it after the Beings of Light in 2016 showed me my movie and showed me where I failed my son and how he came to be trapped in flames at the age of 25. That was May 27th. I'm sorry, he was born May 27th, 1978. And it was June 28th, 2003, when he crossed over. And I remember sitting on the bed in 2008, so I'd had about 5 years of this. And I was really concerned about Trevor. Well, I'm realizing now, I had the thought before, but I'm only allowing it now, that I saved my son. I told him that the light was nothing to fear. Go to the light. And he went. And then it was all those years later in 2016 when he showed up again with a gang of golden beings of light. So ask yourselves, are you hiding from God now? Would you be ashamed of yourself and your movie now? Anybody listening to me should have no fear of God. That was what the God Father 2,600 years ago introduced into the brains of man. A God that I don't know, and who flipped this world upside down to grow a hell, not a heaven. Our imagination should build a heaven here. We came to play with our human senses and to reproduce. And how can that be when the Godfather said that Eve is being punished by God for infractions in the garden? You see, that's the fear. That was the first fear. And that's what everybody has to let go of. Fear of God. I know that I did a lot of things that I would be ashamed of here if anybody knew. Like, people I'd slept with, many, and a couple of affairs I had on my husband. I mean, I was really looking for love. And I was really ashamed of myself. But I'm not anymore. And you can get back to that place of no shame and no fear yourself before death. There are other spirits waiting. They are waiting for us to come back to Christ consciousness in our souls, in our hearts while we're here on earth. Not to be taken away by books, not to be taken away by images, and not being taken away by outside gods. I believe it's not too late. But the ones that will be too late for are the ones hiding from God, whether here or on the other side. I never thought about that before. The fear of God on the other side and the shame. And that's why it stays dark. It stays dim. And I've seen some of those afterlife, near-death experience things that people go through and they think they go to hell. No, it's the invisible plane right here. And the way they describe it is people are angry at God, hate God, and hate anybody who brings God into the picture there. And you get targeted. Well, as I was thinking about that, I realized it's the same here. The light is targeted here. I am the light and I am targeted here. What the light is a truth teller. Somebody who doesn't believe in child molestation and wants to get to the truth on all matters and not hide from the truth. These people are disposable here. Trust me, I know. It's not just me. I see many people who comment that they sound exactly like me. And I hope I can give you peace that if you're not ashamed of yourself now and God now, you won't be then either. And so I kind of had that thought that I saved Trevor. And that's a kind of twist considering I feel it's in my imagination and planted in my brain of my past lives that I'm the mother of Jesus 4 times that I know of, and many others that I don't know about. But these are the ones in history that it was pointed out to me by my guides how I fit in the soul tree of the Jesus and Mary story, the King James and Mary story, Elvis Presley and Gladys Love story. That's all real to me. That's bloody real. I feel I've lived their lives, and I have the same son, the spirit of my son. But each story we live is a new story, with new beginnings, new opportunities, and new imagination. The only thing the same will be your soulmate, and it's typically a parent and a child. It's not just me. And when people hang up on me or call me blasphemous or whatever, when I tell them, Jesus said that we were all the same, so what's the problem? What part of that don't you understand? Does that mean Jesus can't come back, or he's just gone to heaven? How do you know? How do you know the story of Jesus, other than through the same scriptures and authors who wrote the Garden of Eden? This is all crap, what they've taught you about Jesus and Mary. But I am here to set the record straight and to repair the reputation of my father and my son and me. Because we were treated like garbage here. We were treated like we didn't fit in, didn't belong. And it wasn't the government, it was the people. Because people have a superiority complex here, an ego trip going on where they think they're better than somebody else, or they think they have the authority over somebody else, or they think they know the imagination of somebody else. And you don't. You can't possibly know what other people are thinking. In my story, I found evil outside of me, in my family. I saw the way they treated me, and it still brings me to tears when I think about certain events. Like the time I went to my granddaughter's horse race when she was still small. When she was just learning how to be a manipulator. And just completely ignoring me at this horse race so that she could play a game with her step-grandmother, whose name also happened to be the same as mine. But she's playing emotional games as a child to torture me. And people do that. My sister's the same way. To get you in trouble. Why? The only answer I have is generations of hiding from God. Being trapped here, reborn, time and time again. And one feeling I had today, I was in my hypnosis and in my garden, and Trevor was there. And it was the most beautiful place I could ever imagine. But I am imagining it. And I said, the only thing missing is your children. And his name, my grandson's name, is Dylan Thomas. And he's 25 this year, same age that my son died. I don't know him. I don't know him at all. He was taken away when Trevor died, adopted by a lesbian, a 58-year-old lesbian. I don't know him. But it doesn't look like he can have a relationship. It doesn't look like there's going to be fruit. And that's another thought I have, people that are at the end of the road. Maybe they can't have fruit. And maybe that's Christ-inspired. We don't know. I don't know. It's imagination. It's my imagination. But it sure makes sense when I see my own story and people around me here. And it could be that there are people who have come In fact, I feel strongly there are. They are not going to be reborn back in here with their soul group. They are here to help. They are here to bring Christ consciousness back to people, to bring love to humanity again. There are many of those souls around. Oh, I feel them. But there are people at the end of the line. And I wondered, well, what happens if they're at the end of the line? And the only vision I have is earthbound spirits with nowhere to go. No more human experience with the senses. No more manifestation of God's perfect body. Flawless. Ingenious. Can heal itself. Lickety split. When not poisoned. Yeah, I'm very sick. I've been sick since March 21. Already had been healed from lung cancer and COPD in 2016. Now I'm being poisoned. I can taste the metal. I feel the radiation. My eyes burn. And I've got really weird symptoms all the time. My heart and lungs are going. I try to blow bubbles for my kitten and the bubbles just fall all over me. I don't have any air. I don't fear any death. I just wonder what's going to happen. What's next? And why am I in this state? It must be the plan. It must be the plan. Unless something changes and my energy returns. Because there's another thought I had that there was going to be a mass exodus. There's going to be a mass death thing. We're repeating history. It's coming. You got to know that. There's a bloodbath coming. There's World War III is going to be worse than anything you could ever conjure up in your head. And people will not know how to cope. There's going to be a mass exodus of life. And sometimes I wonder if I'm waiting for that. And then maybe my energy is going to be restored and I'll be here to help as well as so many others who can't seem to die. I should have been dead so many times. It's not funny. I was thinking this morning about the first time. I was 5 years old and I was in an alley. It's probably where my little tent trailer was, where I used to play with a blanket and bowl of cereal. And I ran across the alley and got hit by a car in the face. And I was unconscious and they thought every bone in my body was broken. And I was taken to the hospital. I don't know if you know this, but that in those days they just left the kid there and went home for a week. I never saw my mother or father again during my stay there. But the only injury I ended up at the end of the day was a scar on my lip. A gravel scar, like from my face skidding on gravel. And then my mom said a week later, I went and ran out in front of another road. I didn't get hit, but I got a spanking. And I realized through my whole life I've been very, very reckless. Very, I've never feared. Nothing. And we take that as a bad thing here. I remember when Gary and I went to Manhattan once. I wanted to go to Harlem. I wanted to see the neighborhood. And he was too afraid. You couldn't believe what I did. I left him in the hotel and I went down to a bar, a lounge, and had a couple of drinks with some globetrotters in Manhattan. Oh yeah, I have a story, but I am not ashamed of anything I did. And I am not ashamed of anything about my son. I know exactly how we got there. And I know exactly what happened to our brains. But more importantly, I know our own heart. I know our heart. And I believe that I saved my son by giving him the idea to go to the light fearlessly. But then he came back in 2016 and they go with the golden beans of light. He knew I needed the truth. I needed the truth about everything. And then after the beings of light finished, they did some healing work on me. And I remember this thought, they're healing me the way I heal other people. I really did. I never thought of myself as a healer before. I was a clinical hypnotherapist and a counselor, but I never said I was a healer. But that night I said, they're healing me the way I heal other people. And apparently I have a whole bunch more people that I've helped than hurt. And then after the beings of light finished, Trevor gave me a heart orgasm, and I could feel that we were recorded. And since that night, all they told me was to be prepared. But since that night, I have been guided. Nothing is a mistake of where I ended up and how I am with my peace in Quebec City. It's not ideal because I still feel so strongly for humanity. And I have this always, even in some of my references said I have this real belief in myself. And I do when it comes to trying to save the world. Like when I was 5 and I was playing in that little alleyway with the tent trailer, and I said before in my video that the tent trailer represents Earth and the lid's gonna pop off. And I want to get into that house and make it nice and make it love. But I can't see that happening with the way things are going. The news isn't getting better. They're deliberately keeping our imaginations in hell, right? The news is hell, right? TV is hell. And they're deliberately keeping our thoughts and minds there. And a lot of people act out in bad ways. We do the unthinkable when we live in fear and shame. We just keep digging ourselves in deeper and deeper and deeper. Well, it's never too late while you're alive to face your movie now and rebuke it all. It is so simple. I have the same emotional reconnection with my mother because she was a tyrant to me, but it was all part of my purpose and journey. But we could have been stuck here if we did not reconnect. It just takes one person to open the door, and it's done. Make that person you. Never close the door on people who love you. Never close the door. And if you don't think they love you because of the way they treated you, you're wrong. You are loved. And what's missing here on earth is mother love. And it's gotten so hideous with this game against women and people not even recognizing it, going along with it, mocking women, accusing them of being, like on TV, they're putting the women up there as the evil ones on every situation. Like the fire recently, it's a woman's fire brigade there in Alberta, and they caused it all. It's little hints like that all day long, every day, that turn your mother away. turn your daughters away. You're not doing it to one woman or one group of women. When you allow the perpetuation of hate on women and the mocking, it's hideous what I saw Justin Trudeau do with those heels, pink heels, all these politicians to support women marching around in pink heels. That's mocking. And men don't get it. It's time to get it, guys. You have to understand. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but we've all been taken away. And this ending is going to be personal. It's going to be personal for you and your soul to be strong and full of love and acceptance, unconditional love and acceptance of everybody for everything. Because that's their movie. If you got some problem with the way they're out, that's their movie. You don't know why they're doing their movie like that. I didn't know why my father and son were doing their movie like that. They were here to teach a lesson of the heart that my family are going to get. They're going to get it. And so there are many people and many spirits that are here to teach people lessons, giving them opportunities to do the right thing and giving them opportunities to do the wrong thing. And I can't tell you how horrible it is to be the weaker sex, and then you're older, and then you're thrown away like garbage. There is zero love beaming from people here. Zero. There's an intention in these charities. There's an intention in these government agencies that have nothing to do with love or support. But we turn it all over to these people, to other people, charitable organizations to take care of the poor people, or the government to take care of people, so you don't have to. Everybody needs love. And you need love. And you just need to be reminded you are love. Just like Jesus. The problem is very few people act like Jesus. Very few people tear the temples down and yell at the money exchangers and tell people not to judge. And no, people don't speak up. I see the stars are leaving. I see the sun is so different. When I was a child, it was yellow and it was huge. Something's going on. And it's not artificial intelligence. And I've told you before, there's many things going on in our skies that are different and new, and weather that's not all government inspired. It's Christ inspired. You know what happens when the sun and the stars leave? What happens to the souls here? Please don't fear God. Understand what happened? Are you ready? I don't know. It's a long road of pain, emotional pain. But if you can get to a place where you feel at one with Jesus, that'd be amazing. So I'm just going to pull a card, see what the cards say before I close. I was really inspired to talk. Even though it's very hard for me to do a video these days because I don't have any energy, I did today. I made sure that I did a lot of self-hypnosis and I wanted to know what to tell you. And I got inspired. Yep. This is the Three of Pentacles. Okay? That's the third matrix that you're in. And you keep going in and out in the same earthbound spot. Reborn time and time again into the 3D matrix. And this is my number 9. 9 of Pentacles. Calling out to all of you to start parroting for God. Start being the God you're looking for. And you can feel the difference between heaven and hell. There won't be any regrets. I have no regrets. So I don't know what's going to happen. Either I'm going to croak and be done with this, or others are. I don't know. We're not allowed to know. That's one thing I won't know, and we're not allowed. And if anybody tells you they know, they don't know. They don't know nothing. Smartest person in the room knows we have no knowledge of the truth here until you feel it. And when you feel the truth, it is the truth. Feelings are the truth. You can trust your feelings. As long as you're not conjuring up your feelings from fake stories. You know, how wishy-washy and lovey we get when we send our boys to war and thank them for their service. And all of the things we admire and idolize on the Oscars and the Idol Stars. It's time to come home. It's time to come home with a new kind of pride. Not pride in your ego trip. Pride in your soul. That you recovered your soul. And man, that will be a trip. Life is a lot more fun than you realize, by the way. I know I sound serious, but it's because it is serious. It's bloody serious coming. Bloody, bloody, bloody raping black race serious. It's serious. And you got to prepare your hearts for anything. And you stick close to the people that you love. And you keep that door open. And it doesn't hurt to pray to your guides. And you know, a lot of times I have to be told to shut up and listen. And so I've learned how to do that in my hypno. It takes a practice. It takes time. But we are spiritual beings. We are telepathic and will return to the same.